Are you ready to take control of your bookings and say goodbye to the hefty fees and restrictions of the OTAs? Today, we're speaking about taking that first step away from Airbnb, the risks out there, and how you can limit your exposure.
You are listening to the Direct Booking Success Podcast, bringing you all the information you need for your short-term rental to stand out from the crowd. I'm your host, Jen Boyles. As an owner and manager myself, I know how hard it can be to navigate the hospitality industry. I'm here to help, so you too can have direct booking success. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Direct Booking Success Podcast. I'm your host, Jen Boyles, and today we're diving into a topic that's at the forefront of every vacation property manager's mind: how to successfully transition from relying on the online travel agents like Airbnb to taking control of your bookings through direct channels. So to guide us through this important shift, I'm thrilled to be joined by Andrew Schorr. Andrew's journey in this industry began back in 2008 when he founded a hotel concierge company in Beijing, which I want to hear more about. In 2022, Andrew joined Hospitable, where he's been instrumental in bringing their innovative direct booking product to market. So today's episode, we're going to explore the challenges and the opportunities of moving away from the OTAs, especially for those who might be nervous about making that leap. We'll discuss the fears that a lot of hosts have and how to mitigate the risks associated with direct bookings and the practical steps you can take to get ahead. And Andrew is also going to give us a look at the new Hospitable's direct premium offer, which I'm really excited to learn more about. Hospitable is a sponsor at the upcoming 2024 Direct Booking Success Summit, happening online October 8th to 10th. We're going to speak more about what you'll hear about Hospitable there as well. So let's get started and welcome Andrew Schorr to the show. Hi,
Thank you.
Andrew.
Thank you so much for having me, Jen.
Oh, it's great. It's wonderful to have you here. So let's start by talking about your journey in hospitality. I find it fascinating because everyone has such interesting sort of backstories about where they came from, how this happened to them, how they sort of fell into it. But I have never heard of somebody starting a concierge company in Beijing. So I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, I would struggle to condense it down. I'll try. Basically, we were working with maps. That was my passion actually at the time. And so we were building kind of a city guide for Beijing. We had the first online English maps. This is like back in 2006. But the big Beijing Olympics were approaching in 2008. And that was a moment for us and a struggling startup to be like, if we can't make money off the Olympics, we should probably just close down. So we went to the idea book that we've been keeping, and kind of what rose to the top was, why don't we sell this to hotels? We had no idea what we were selling at that point. We just started walking into 5-star hotel lobbies, pitching 3 different ideas. Thankfully, the Ritz-Carlton and the Hilton there bought the same idea at about the same time, like 2 consecutive days. And so I literally walked out of the first meeting. I called my partner and said, we're building number 2. That's the one. And it was concierge software. China was really hard to get around, and they needed help kind of communicating to their guests and to the taxi driver in a multilingual fashion of how to go somewhere. There was just needed it was an experience that needed updating. But I fell into that. I had no hospitality background. We just solved a problem that we discovered.
That's so cool. And talk about great brands to start with. Hilton and Ritz-Carlton. Yeah. So that would have added some real kudos to your brand.
Yeah, and it's one of the allures of that industry, right? There's all these kind of sexy brands who are working the Four Seasons and Mandarin Oriental and every kind of luxurious brand that has such a cachet in your mind. And I got to say, there's a lot of very nice hotels in China, to be fair.
So let's fast forward to 2022, and you joined Hospitable. How did that come about?
It was a COVID origin story. So I had left China very fortuitously before COVID and resettled in Italy. My then girlfriend, now wife, is Italian. So we decided to get out of China at that time. And I thought I was still going to be going back and forth and running my Chinese companies. COVID happened. No way to get back in China. No timeline of when that was going to be possible. I stumbled across Hospitable, and I didn't even realize what a good fit it was because I had the hospitality experience. I had the messaging experience with the contact center software you mentioned. And they actually brought it up in the interview, what a good fit it was. I wasn't even pitching all of the experience. I was thinking it was, it's good on the messaging. Like, oh, hey, you worked at hospitality software. I was like, oh yeah, I did, didn't I? Oh, this is a really good fit.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a really good fit. That pandemic really changed our lives, didn't it?
It did.
Yeah.
And that was the origin story for direct booking for us too, right? And from a lot of the industry, I think it was kind of maybe a revival of the direct booking industry. And it was definitely something our hosts were demanding at that time because they just had their businesses wiped out. I think a lot of people realized at that point that Airbnb's number one customer is the guest and not the host. And they started to feel that kind of platform risk. And we were not equipped to handle that kind of feature set and that new product at the time as a company. So this was kind of before I joined, and we were just overwhelmed with the request because we wanted to do it the right way. And so we were listening to our hosts. We have biweekly town halls. Anybody can get up on stage, tell us what we're doing well, what we're doing wrong, what they want us to do. And they were telling us what they wanted to do was not exactly what direct booking traditionally was, which was a website and a payment processor, right? That was direct booking is. They wanted a lot of like the risk mitigation things. And those things are hard to do. And so we kind of got on this long roadmap of features and we didn't know when it was going to end and we weren't resourced to do it. And that kind of takes us to 2022. When I joined to kind of professionalize and have a dedicated team building out direct because it was like its own company within Hospitable. And that allowed us to have a little bit of, I think, sanity. I think the team was really like burning, on fumes at that point. But yeah, that was kind of a pivotal moment for us.
I think we can all go back to, I can't remember if it was April or if it was March 2020, where Airbnb just canceled everything across the board.
Yeah.
And that was a horrible time. And I think silver lining might have been that a lot of people woke up to direct bookings and that relying wholeheartedly on one platform is not the way to go. But having said that, I think that there's even more hosts out there who are still relying heavily on the likes of Airbnb and maybe now know about direct bookings and maybe have that feeling like they would like to do it, but are nervous. What are sort of those common fears or even misconceptions that you think that new hosts or hosts that have been on the platforms for a while have when considering to move into direct bookings?
So what our hosts were telling us is, I'm a little bit nervous about just taking a booking from anyone online. Airbnb has air cover. They're allegedly vetting their guest. I don't know how to deal with the chargeback. I don't know how to deal with my taxes. Those are like the main things that our hosts were telling us. That's what's keeping them from getting online with direct booking on their own. And those were kind of the things that we had to figure out how to address. And if you look at all four of those things are actually massive feature sets to build out and to figure out. There was a lot of learning on our side as well that had to happen, but we knew that was the right way. And so we kind of committed to that long roadmap of features to build that. And that's what became direct premium for us.
Okay. Should we take them one by one of those, the big four, and sort of walk everyone through what the fears are and how we can kind of mitigate those risks? Where do you want to start?
Let's start, I guess we can go kind of guest journey, right? So it's that booking request that comes in and you don't know who it is, right? So it's the guest vetting questions. You only want to take bookings from people that fit your property. I heard you talking about this on the podcast you did with Miles recently, is if I'm not a bachelor party kind of property, I don't want to attract that kind of customer. And if you're open on your website to taking bookings from anyone, you can get bad guests, right? And so what we did is we required guest vetting before you can make a booking request. So every booking request that comes in on Direct Premium, you have an ID verified through AutoHost. So they're actually doing barcode analysis to make sure that the ID wasn't doctored. They're checking for AI alterations, which is super common right now. It's very low bar to entry to spoof an ID with AI. They're doing all kinds of different risk and fraud scoring. We're doing the same on the payment processing as well. And so Hospitable actually sits kind of upstream of that booking request even getting to you on the premium product. And when it gets to you, we're already guaranteeing it from fraud. So I'm kind of touching now on the chargeback side of the floor as well, but we've guaranteed that from fraud because it's gone through our system. We've looked at the auto host information. We've looked at the payment information and we said, this looks okay to us. Now it's up to the host. So there's like a 2-stage check. And when it gets to the host, now they can look at all the same information that we looked at. Say, okay, this feels safe to me. I'll go ahead and accept this. So they've got all that information up front before they even agree to accept the booking, right? Coming in, guest vetting. done.
That's really interesting. And this is something that I have really not heard of yet, because in my world, the booking comes through and then the guest is vetted.
Yep.
And
We
I
actually
think,
had to build a new workflow with AutoHost. That was something that they hadn't done either. And we had to do actually quite a lot of collaboration on how to get to that, because it was a different kind of workflow management than they were used to as well.
yeah, no, that's really amazing, because I think a lot of people think that guests are vetted on Airbnb, but you basically go by reviews. Do they have good reviews, bad reviews? And I'm sure you're in the same Facebook groups that I'm in. It's like, should I accept this guest? They have 2 reviews and one of them's not great. It's like, a review doesn't mean anything. Anyone could put a review up there. But thinking about the guest journey, do they have to jump through extra hoops before they can actually make that booking? Like, how does that look for them?
They do. And if you talk to a more savvy or experienced direct booking host, I think they're okay with a little bit of friction, right? You want a little bit of friction because you don't want everyone in your place, right? You want people that are willing to go through ID verification, right? That's a bit of an intrusive step, but it also means that they're kind of trusting you and giving you some of their trust, right? So just that friction itself kind of makes it more serious. What we kind of learned through that is it helps to kind of educate guests on why we do that and why it's different. Because our hosts are not hotels. They don't have a front desk. You might never interact with your host, right? Hotels obviously do this. They take an imprint of your card. They verify your ID when you check in. And when you don't think about that, it's like, oh, wow, hotel doesn't ask for my, scan my ID. Well, they're doing that process. They just have a different way of doing it, right? And so this is the e-services way of doing it. And yeah, I think hosts generally are okay with that friction. So we see that we have a choice, right? We have a basic product as well that doesn't include these kind of protections. 76% of our hosts use the premium side, 24% use the basic side. And our premium side is only available in certain geographies. So yeah, it's not even a fair comparison, but it's the overwhelmingly popular choice by our host.
Yeah, I think if I had the option to do it without or with, I would do it with. When you're checking into a hotel, they see you in person. They're
Yep.
looking at you, they're looking at your ID, they're looking at their credit card. They've got the pieces in front of them and they are trained to look at you, but they're also doing background checks. So that's what I don't understand from some people who say, well, I shouldn't have to do this in a short-term rental. Well, you do it in a hotel, and that's less risk to the hotel because you're only renting a room. How much you could do a little bit of damage in a room if we're talking about damage. But if you're in like a $500,000 house or $1 million house, think
That's
about
not staffed. Doesn't have anyone on site, right?
Yes. So, it just could be so much worse. Okay, great. So we've talked about that part there, which is sort of that guest journey and getting vetted before they even make that booking. And you alluded to the fact about chargebacks and things like
Yep.
that, because there's another thing you see in the Facebook groups, these chargebacks. So how does Hospitable get involved there?
So yeah, on the premium side, we manage all the chargebacks. We actually indemnify the host from fraud chargebacks because that's our responsibility as the platform to protect our hosts from that. So we've had hosts that sometimes we do miss fraud. It happens. Sometimes the host doesn't even know. Like, they already had it. We paid out that host. We lost money on that because that was our responsibility. So 100% guarantee you're not going to get a fraud chargeback and lose a payout. We cover that. I think where most hosts see it in direct booking, it's they have that first chargeback. And because their direct booking volume as a single host is kind of on the low side, the platform, whatever payment processor they're using, usually it's Stripe, they're going to start already suffering consequences from the first chargeback. They're going to start withholding funds. They're going to start having different requirements for when they can get paid out because they've got a single chargeback. Like, it shouldn't be that damaging, right? For us, we're spreading that chargeback over the aggregate of all the bookings. We do about $3 million in bookings a month. One chargeback, a few chargebacks is not a big deal for us. We're well within the limits of what the payment processor is expecting at that volume. We also have a professional team that knows how to manage these. If you've never done a chargeback before, it is not easy. And you're probably not going to win if you don't know what the issuer, the credit card, the issuing bank is looking for. So we work with a professional team that does that. Even that service and that support side of it is really reassuring. We had a host going through a real situation on Monday. Just this week. He had a guest trying to scam him. And the guest was trying to create an urgency in the situation, saying, "Oh, I booked with you. Here's a screenshot of the confirmation page." It was not the confirmation page. It was the page before that, saying I paid. He doctored an email to make it look like his payment. His credit card's company said it was paid. And he called us and he's like, what's wrong with your system? This booking's not showing up on my calendar. I already let him into the house. And
No.
we had someone that could get on the phone with them and kind of talk him through the situation and made him realize what had happened, that you don't actually have a booking. We have 3 rejected payments from this guest that tried to pay, probably stolen credit cards. One of them was 3DS not authenticated. One of them was rejected by the issuer as fraud. This is a scam. This isn't a guest. And just having someone that could get on the phone with him and kind of talk him down from your natural empathetic reaction as a host to want to do this. And he was actually telling us, oh, he said it was an emergency. He wasn't expecting to travel. And it's like all of the kind of scam signals when you are removed from that situation that are easier to recognize, right? We're able to help him down from that. So like having that team there too, that's kind of looking at the payment flow, doing the kind of the manual reviews of when guest vetting is kind of on the edge. It's that value that helps prevent chargebacks. We know how to deal with them and prevents that really being an impact on your business. If you have a chargeback and it starts delaying your income flow, how does that work? If you're a property manager trying to pay out your owners and you're not getting paid until 45, 60 days after booking, what's that going to do to your business?
Yeah. I love that because that is definitely a pain point that I see when people are looking at starting, right? And me coming from the marketing side, I'm like, okay, you need a website and you need a PMS to manage your business, but you need that website. And what is often sort of forgotten about is the payment processor. I lived in England for a long time and bank transfers are very common. And I think they're becoming even more so over here in North America. But you don't want to be giving out your bank details to everyone for bank transfers. So you need a payment processor. They can use a credit card because, of course, there's more security in that. So I love the idea of not having to deal with, for lack of a better word, crap. Dealing with the payment processing side of things. And of course, the chargebacks or the scams or the fraud that comes with it. I love it. Okay, so we've got 2. What's the third one?
It's still in this journey and deeply intertwined with the guest vetting is doing that level of guest vetting is it allows us to work with an insurance provider on damage protection at a very affordable rate, right? So we can bake in to that booking $5 million of damage protection. And we actually just improved the offering this week. So we had a $70 deductible on that. We're able to take that down to $0 deductible because it's so rarely used. Because the guest vetting is there, right? Those things are tied together, right?
Yeah.
If you have like a fraud chargeback, you're probably going to get damaged too. That's a person that's already showing a credit card to get into your place. They're probably not going to respect your property, right? All those things are tied together. If you're doing those right, you're adding a bit of friction, you're getting an ID scan, that person's probably not going to damage your place. Like that, the best damage protection is damage prevention, right? Yeah. But things can still go wrong. So again, like that peace of mind of someone that has not gotten into direct booking because they don't know what they would do without air cover from Airbnb. That's the thing that we're filling that gap. And so every booking that comes through premium gets guest vetted, and therefore we're able to have a $5 million damage protection policy if things go wrong.
Yeah. And not just if, when, because things happen. And I know that a lot of hosts who maybe haven't had to use air cover think that this is covering them. And in reality, I think, as you said at the beginning of our conversation, we know who the number one client is for Airbnb, and that's the guest. It's not a secret. It is the guest who's their number one client, and they're the ones who they're going to side with mostly, right or wrongly. That's what they're doing. So I love this, that you're covering on both sides of that.
Yeah, what we hear from hosts, I talk to them a lot about how damage protection works on other platforms. I think their experience with OTAs is what I generally hear is small claims are pretty good. They're pretty quick, usually not a lot of pushback. If you have a big claim though, good luck. Like, it's going to take you a lot of back and forth and you're going to have to drive that claim over the finish line. It's going to continue to get dropped. That's what we've heard from the industry.
Yeah. And it makes sense because the small ones, $50 here, $100 there. But when somebody has damaged a hot tub or driven a car through your house or whatever it is, those are big things to have to deal with. Okay, good. What is the fourth big one?
Fourth big one. Well, now you got me wondering what the fourth big one is. Taxes. Yeah, there we go.
Taxes, so, yes.
We're now at the end of the flow, the end of the guest journey, right?
Yes.
We've got our payout and now we're doing taxes. And this is one that's a work in progress for us. So we have always calculated tax for you, which is even in the US, just the tax calculation is difficult, right? There are, 16, 20,000 different tax jurisdictions. So your single property may have 4 or 5 different taxes, from a special zone to a city to a county to a state tax that applies to any transaction. You might have 5 different line items: your nightly rate, your cleaning fee, your pet fees, your whatever. That's really hard just to calculate taxes. So we do that. We work with the service provider Avalera for that. And so that's all baked in as well. So we send your property address out, we get your taxes, we update your taxes as they change, and we collect. And generally, we've been passing through those taxes. That was always a temporary measure for us. The other thing we did with direct premium from the beginning is we said, we're going to be the merchant of record on the payments. And that is a really hard thing to do because you are the liable party. So that means we're the ones that kind of fund the liquidity of refunds, cancellations. Again, the chargebacks is tied to that. We're the merchant of record. We're the name on the credit card. What it allows us to do, however, though, is to file out taxes on our host's behalf. And so we've started doing that. I think June 1st was the first state we launched with. We launched it in Tennessee. So all of our hosts that have properties in Tennessee no longer have to worry about taxes. We file and remit everything on their behalf. We rolled out 5 new states from the 1st of September. So Michigan, Texas, Washington, Arizona, and I want to say Maine. Maybe you have to check the fine print for that. But yeah, we're basically doing a nationwide rollout in the US where taxes are hard, and we're able to really save our host a lot of time and a lot of headache. No one wants to do taxes, obviously.
No.
We're super excited to be able to do that for them.
And is that a United States centered topic, or are you looking at other countries to help with the taxes?
Yeah, so I alluded to earlier that the premium product isn't available globally because we have to be compliant wherever we go. So we have to grow kind of slowly. So right now we're in the US, the UK, and Australia. The UK and Australia don't have a complicated tax structure like that. You kind of just pay one tax. It's not a big deal there. Canada, it's a little bit complicated. And what's kept us from launching this in Canada is actually the taxes. And the service provider we work with does not have a lodging tax solution yet for Canada. As soon as they have it, we'll be able to launch this direct premium offering in Canada as well. But it is not a small project. I think we're probably unique in this space offering that for direct booking, to be able to file and remit taxes as a platform on your behalf.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that from any other platforms. And I think that's really great. My vacation rental's in the UK. So yeah, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
The States sounds like a complete nightmare. Canada does have a few things going. So yeah, I'm glad you guys are working on it, and we'll get that soon. Wonderful. Well, these all sound like really great things. And to help people who are nervous about leaving that sort of cocoon of Airbnb and going out on their own, I think that really hits those pain points and helps them, I think, also understand all the risks that maybe they weren't even aware of.
Yep. My default advice when I kind of started in this was my startup advice, right? It was like, oh, well, just get started and experiment. It's easy to get started. And then I kind of realized, well, actually, this is kind of dangerous. Like, you don't want to start when the consequences are, a fraud chargeback that ends up damaging your house because they threw a party at a last minute booking, right? Like, you don't want that. And I'm not trying to scare people off, but like the advice to, just get started and experiment is only good if you're mitigating your risk. And so that's what I love about what we did is you do get to focus as a host on what actually impacts your business and not have to worry about losing sleep over being protected or doing the right thing. We take care of a lot of that. And then you can then focus on the things that drive your business. I think the things that you focus on, Jen, like how to attract guests, how to be a good marketer, how to build a brand. Those are what we want hosts to focus on, not on damage protection. We should be taking care of that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Music to my ears. Wonderful. And looking after the guests. That's what people get into this business, because I think gone are the days it's get rich quick, but it's in it to be hospitable to guests. And I think that's why it's such a lovely industry to be in, because it's filled with really nice people. So what else? We're talking about direct premium with Hospitable. What other features sort of round it out? What other things can we expect from it?
Yeah, so some of the things we've recently released that have been really successful, we did an integration with Google Vacation Rentals, which on a good month, that's bringing almost 10% of our direct bookings. And if you're not familiar with that, this is how you get onto Google Travel. Google Travel is kind of all over the Google ecosystem, but it does $0 customer acquisition cost redirects to your direct booking page. So your landing page is your direct booking page. You get to save all of the fees over OTAs. Google doesn't charge anything for that. So that was a big one that we launched towards the end of last year. Recently, we just launched payment terms. We had been only able to collect the entire payment upfront for a booking Obviously, we're losing a lot of big bookings. I think the largest booking we had was $89,000 that someone put on their credit card, paid up front, probably like 9 months in advance. We felt really bad about that. It was great to get the booking, but think about how many we were losing because they were paying a year up front. So we finally rolled that out, and that was been a absolutely unmitigated success. That's been fantastic. Really, like, average booking amount is up, bookings are up, everything. And the hosts love it because we're saving their guests money. Their guests are happier. They're easier to convert. So that's been fun. And then we're kind of on a roadmap right now where the theme is maximizing conversion. So we're adding more payment methods like Apple and Google Pay. You touched on the pay by bank, kind of the modern option of that, where you can just log into your bank, pay with zero interchange fees. We're going to give the guest more money back. We're going to give the host more money on that payment, and we're going to make more money as well. Only the credit card companies are losing out on that, which is nice. And then, longer term, I think the themes kind of change towards midterm booking, which is really popular. So we're going to release some specializations, optimization for midterm booking for a host that is really their bread and butter. And then finally, really focus on distribution. So finding the next Google Vacation Rentals. What are the other ways that we can actually bring bookings to our hosts, which is not traditionally what direct booking is about. It's kind of your business, but we think we can be really active in helping hosts get better distribution as well.
Yeah. And no one says go to be 100% direct. There's risk in that as well. And no one's going to give you an award for doing it either. It's distribution, getting those bookings in from lots of different platforms.
Well, specifically distribution for direct, right? So that's the differentiator there, is how many direct bookings can we do by getting better distribution?
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. And you've got an offer for those that might be interested in finding out more about a direct premium.
Yeah, we do. And so, for everyone, not even a special offer, we do a 14-day no credit card free trial. So you really can get started at no risk. And anyone that's listening to this podcast will give you an additional 25% off for your first 3 months of Hospitable. And you can get that by going to a URL, I'm sure is in the show notes. It's hospitable.com/DBS podcast.
Yeah. And I'll put that link in the show notes, of course, because I think that's a great deal. And from what I'm hearing, I love the marketing side of things. I like pretty pictures and great words, but we need those foundations of our PMS in place. This is great that you don't have to have all of different tools when you're trying to put them together, because that takes time. It sounds like almost like a one-stop shop on that side. And it's awesome to have you guys as a sponsor for the upcoming Direct Booking Success Summit.
Absolutely.
If this is the first time you're hearing about it, yikes, head to directbookingsuccesssummit.com, October 8th to 10th. Hospitable is going to be there doing a presentation about direct bookings and are they a gold mine or a major risk? So that is going to be wonderful. And their presentation is going to be live. There's going to be a Q&A afterwards and probably even another special gift to everyone. So come out and see that. But Andrew, I really have to thank you for coming on today, because it was great to get a look behind the curtain, if you will, of direct premium and what you're doing at Hospitable. It sounds amazing. So thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, absolutely. It's my pleasure, Jen. Thank you for having us.
Thanks so much, Andrew, for coming on the Direct Booking Success podcast today. Wonderful to hear what you guys are up to at Hospitable. And thanks for being a sponsor of the Direct Booking Success Summit. This is coming up October 8th to 10th, 2024. It's the fourth year that I've put this on. It's going to be amazing. 3 days of online learning and fun, where you're going to learn how to stop relying on those platforms like Airbnb, make more money with more control when you learn how to increase your direct bookings. So we're going to be learning from industry experts and your fellow property managers. This is an unmissable free event for you, no matter where you are in the world. Head to directbookingsuccesssummit.com to sign up. Until next time, go out and take action for your own direct booking success.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Direct Booking Success podcast. For more information about this episode and others, head to the website directbookingsuccess.com/podcast. See you next time.